it was hell. It was hell soundtracked by Oasis.
Yeah.
So interpret that however you want.
Hi, welcome to the guest list with Patrick Hicks. Today I'm joined by writer and podcaster Melissa Locker. Melissa, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
So, Melissa is the author of the new book, which I have here, And After All, a fan history of Oasis. It's really great because I've read a lot of books about Oasis, but this is not really a book about Oasis, the band, or it's not their history. It's about their fans. How did you come up with that idea to tackle it from that angle?
Well, I think it came up with it. So my agent reached out and was like, Simon Schuster wants a book. Actually, she said, a British publisher is interested in a book about Oasis. And she's like, can you just write a pitch? And so I just said, you're a writer. You get it. You just sit down, you write something. You don't totally remember what you wrote. And then she's like, "Oh, I didn't come back. I didn't end up pitching it to British publisher, but I pitched it to Simon and Schuster, and they like it." And then
Oh.
I had to go back and kind of look at like what I had written, and it was literally like a paragraph saying like, "Let's just talk about the fans. The fans are much more interesting," which I stand by. But I think it actually came from the fact that I'm a huge fan of the documentary Heavy Metal Parking Lot,
Oh my God,
which
yes.
it's
I
like
love
it's a classic, but it's for people who haven't seen it. It's a documentary filmed entirely in the parking lot of a Judas Priest concert, I think in the '80s in like Bowie, Maryland, and it is an absolute time capsule of a time and an era and a band. And like Rob Halford hadn't come out of the closet yet, and so it's all these women talking about how much they love him and how much they're gonna love him, they're gonna love her, and it's just it's an amazing, amazing documentary, but I think it really just kind of cemented my love of fans and how much, you know, like the fans make the band, like they really do. And I just wanted to tell their story. Everybody knows the story of Oasis at this point. They've been around for a long time. They had, Paula Hewitt following them around on tour. Their story has been told over and over and over again. And I just thought it'd be much more interesting to turn sort of the camera around and look at the audience and look at all the people who were singing every single word back to the band and to tell their stories instead.
Yeah, Heavy Metal Parking Lot is such a great reference. I wasn't thinking of that. I was thinking of stuff like Trekkies or, there are have been a lot of good documentaries about fandom. But
Yeah, but I honestly own Heavy Metal Parking Lot on every single format. Like I have a VHS tape of it for some reason. I don't even own a VCR, but I still have that VHS tape.
no, it is great and the fans are great. And then they did like a follow-up, I think years later where they
They
followed up
did.
with all the people who were in it and like the one kind of guy, I'm not going to remember his name, but there's one guy in particular who's like this guy is a character. He needs his whole own series. He's still a character even like years later. Um,
Yeah, it's just, I mean, it's like it's on YouTube. You can totally go look it up
yeah.
and it's absolutely worth your time. It is just, it's a classic. It's a classic. And I think it's just so deeply embedded in my head at this point that when I had to, pitch a story, it was like, oh, obviously I need to talk to the fans. And also, there's a great 33 and a third book about Celine Dion and like
Oh.
the fandom. And
Mhm.
I think that was all, it's all about like what you consume, like the media that you take in, and then eventually,
Sure.
it pops back out.
So, how big an Oasis fan were you?
It's funny. People keep asking me that question. And like, I'd always been like, I'm a fan. Like, I'd seen them in a concert a few times. I knew most of the songs. I can sing along. But then once you start interviewing people who have been to like over 150 shows, people who have traveled the world to go see them, people who name their kids after the band members or after their songs, people who spent like $1 million on collecting like merchandise and memorabilia, you're like, am I a fan? I don't know anymore.
Yeah, I get that a lot too when the stuff I do on social media, like I do band histories, and I'm usually a fan of the band, or if I'm not, I kind of come to become a fan as I'm researching it. I like appreciate them more. But then the video is going to get into the hands of like their biggest fans in the world. And sometimes that's good, and then sometimes it's bad because sometimes people are kind of nitpicking the details of, oh, you said it
Oh,
was on July 1st. It was actually on July 2nd that happened. And like, okay, I get
yeah.
you
And
run the Oasis like Facebook fan page, but I was pretty close.
yeah, no, I live in absolute terror of people reading the book and immediately coming back to me being like, actually, it was July 3rd. Actually, it was a Tuesday. Actually, it didn't ever come out on white vinyl. It only came out on a pink vinyl. And I'll just be like, I did my best.
The well actually people are kind of the bane of existence for anybody who creates any kind of content, I guess book or video or otherwise. They are the worst. But
Yeah, and I mean, I do have to say, I had to write this book really, really quickly. The publisher
really,
wanted it for the to pair with the anniversary or to the reunion shows, and I wrote, yeah, I did the research and the writing, and I had two like standout research assistants who helped me track people down. But we did all
yeah.
of this in 3 months, pretty
Oh
much.
wow. Oh, that's
Yeah.
amazing.
So yeah, there like we tried to fact check everything as much as we could. We tried to, but we did our best.
Yeah. Well, I
And if
mean,
you want to send me a well, actually, please write it in cake form. Send it to my address. I will eat it.
well, it doesn't show that it was written that quickly. It was very fantastic, and the people that you reach, I mean, like the opening kind of fan that you hone in on is a guy who was a fan of Inspiral Carpets, the band that Noel Gallagher was a roadie for. So he writes a fan letter to them, and Noel writes back, and then in one of their letters, kind of sneak like the guy asks, "What bands does Inspiral Carpets like?" And Noel names a bunch of bands, and then kind of sneaks in Oasis. And then this guy's like,
Yeah.
"Who's Oasis? This is the one band I've never heard of." So this guy is, I think he's from Maryland, is like possibly the first ever guy in America to hear about Oasis. So like the fact that you
Yeah.
track that guy down and then a guy that's standing next to Noel before Noel's even in the band, like you get a lot of important people in the history of like Oasis fandom. So it's really great.
Yeah, it's well, one thing I have to really credit to is that the fan community for Oasis is incredible, and the people seem to really know each other. Particularly, people have been following them from the very, very early days. And I went over to Manchester and met a bunch of people. They once you start getting to know people, once you start talking to people, like everybody knows somebody. Manchester is still a pretty small town, so you can't like the guy who was standing next to Noel. Like I just went into his record store and just started talking to him, and
Oh,
he had this incredible story. And yeah, and then the kid with well, he's not a kid anymore; he's a full-grown man. But yeah, when he was a college student in Maryland, he just wanted to find out what the Inspiral Carpets were up to, and so he wrote them a letter. And Noel, being there, and he got a letter back, and it was from this guy Noel, who's like, "Who's Noel? What's a Noel? I don't
he's not even in the
understand."
band.
No, he didn't know if it was a boy or a girl. He didn't know anything, and he just was like, "What is this?" And then just starts writing them back and forth. And then Noel, yeah, drops in that Oasis is one of his favorite bands.
So where did you grow up?
I grew up in Portland, Oregon. Yeah, and I
And
started as a
you,
music journalist when I was in high school, writing for the local paper. And I would just lucky enough that Portland was kind of musically cool and had stuff
yeah.
going on.
Yeah, I feel like it's hard not to be in music somehow if you're in Portland. I've never been. That's just the
Well,
impression
you
I
could
get.
also, yeah, you could also be into like clowning or fixie bikes or, rabid veganism or something. So you do have options.
Now, do you have a song that reminds you of your childhood?
Okay, so this is getting deep and personal real quick. No, so I grew up with very, very, very Christian parents, and we actually were not allowed to listen to rock music or music really of any kind at all.
Oh.
So I have a bunch of really bad Christian songs, which we could dive into. But the first time I really started to branch out, my older brother had, well, he'd been working on a fossil camp, like digging fossils out in the desert. And he came and he had met a whole bunch of other like young paleontologists. And someone had made him a mixtape with a bunch of Cure songs on it. And he came back and like we snuck out and he played me Hot, Hot, Hot from The Cure. And I just remember being like intrigued and scandalized and just instantly falling in love.
I feel like every person I read about who had that kind of background, there was like the one mixtape or like SZA's parents were real religious. She wasn't allowed to listen to secular music, but she like found an iPod where it was like
Oh,
she
I
couldn't
love
even
that.
like shuffle the songs or anything. Like she had to listen to it in order, but it was like, oh my God, here's all like the music I wasn't allowed to listen to.
Yeah, I
Kids are
think
gonna
it's
find a way.
they always do. And like not to make this too political or anything, but when you read about all these, bans about on like, oh, they can't have like gay literature in like or they can't have books with gay characters in like Florida public schools and the Supreme Court just was like, yeah, that's totally cool. Kids are going to find a way. They're going to find the books that they want to read. They're going to find the music that they want to hear. And it doesn't, you can try and hide it all you want or protect them as much as you want, but at some point they're going to find it all.
Yeah, of course. So did you get super into The Cure after that? Like, what
Oh
other
yeah,
bands did that open up for you?
yeah, I mean, it took a while to like slowly start tracking everything down. But yeah, I mean, honestly, I think the fact that I wasn't really allowed to listen to music kind of paved the way for me making a career out of writing about music because it just opened up a whole world for me that I had never really been privy to. And it was just, so powerful to like walk around with my Discman or whatever and blast music in my ears. And, obviously I got into a lot of like sort of the goth stuff. My brother was notoriously the goth kid in our high school. Uh, and so and he used to like do my makeup like Susie Sue. And so I listened to a bunch of that and then all downhill from there or uphill, depending.
What is the song from a concert experience that stands out to you? When did you get to start going to concerts?
Um, so just to prove that I'm totally cool, my first concert was actually the Jesus and Mary Chain,
Oh, wow.
and my older brother, of course,
That is really
took me.
cool.
I don't know if it was totally. I feel like it was against his will, but whatever, he took me anyway. And so that was super memorable, particularly because I was wearing these. I don't even know what they're called, but these weird cotton shoes. They're just like cotton. And someone stepped on my toe and broke my toe in the middle of the concert.
Oh,
And
no.
so I just remember being at, like in my very first concert ever, getting my toe and just thinking, this is the coolest place I've ever been.
What, any particular Jesus and Mary Chain song?
I mean, I am a Darklands person. I will listen to like Darklands is people yell at me when I say it, but it's like it's my favorite party album. Like it's my it's my go-to soundtrack. Like whenever I am like even remotely sad or it's gray or it's sunny or anything, I will just put on like Happy When It Rains.
What is a song that you associate with a certain activity? Do you have
Let's
like a
see.
writing song, a cleaning song, a driving
Uh
song?
um Great question. I mean, if you're driving, I mean, I'm wearing a Waylon Jennings t-shirt, and I honestly feel if like you're out on the open road, you really can't go wrong with like any outlaw country at all. So yeah,
Hmm.
like let's do like Waylon or like Chris Christopherson or something like that, just to take over the open road, drive along with the windows down. It's perfect. Country's it's a funny genre because I used to be sort of like, oh, I only like outlaw country or old country or like Hank Williams, Johnny Cash. But then I
Right.
started working on I was the executive producer for a country music podcast for Amazon
Hmm.
called Country Heat Weekly. It's still there. Amazon swiped it from me, and I don't care who knows that. I created it, made it, put it on the air. Well, it lasted 3 seasons, then they took it over.
Oh,
But it's a great show. The people behind the scenes are great. People on the air are great. But anyway, I learned to absolutely just love country music, and I feel like so much of it is, taken over by the same like I concept like, beer swilling bros and their giant
right.
trucks. But there's so many people not doing that and who are doing really interesting music and who are making really cool songs. And it's a wide and deep genre that
Yeah.
unfortunately, more and more studies keep coming up saying that, the number of women played on country radio is just tanking. And once again, after they were able to get a few women on. But there's a lot of music out there that's really great.
That's so weird because I feel like growing up, there was so many women. Like I grew up with like Tanya Tucker and Trisha Yearwood, and then like getting to Shania Twain. Like the women have always been a really big part of the scene, so it's very
Yeah,
weird that they've been pushed out.
and it's a shame because yeah, like Loretta Lynn, Dolly Parton, like come on, those are
You know,
legends. Patsy Cline, those are legends of country music, and they, you know, should have been paving the way for a at least like 50-50 split. But no, it's really like I think like it's like 10% of the songs on country radio right now are by women.
some of the like artists now are doing some of the most interesting things, like Casey Musgraves and like Sierra
Hmm.
Farrell. I don't know if you count her exactly as country, but country adjacent for sure. And they're making some of the best like modern country I've heard. So it's a shame.
Yeah, it is a shame, but I don't program country radio, and I don't think anyone's going to let me anytime soon.
How did you get into making the country music show? How did you get into, I guess, like podcast producing and that?
Yeah, so I was a music journalist since I was a teenager, and eventually I started working at WNYC in New York City. It's the New York Public Radio station. I was working behind for a show called The Takeaway, which was a morning time drive show that was a collaboration between the New York Times, BBC, and WNYC. And they wanted a really diverse group of people making a kind of different sort of radio show. And so I had submitted a resume. I believe I applied via Craigslist, so that, back when Craigslist was functioning. And I got hired, and I had no real experience on the radio, but I learned how to cut audio. I learned how to write for the radio. I learned how to find guests in 30 seconds or less to like my first day on the show. They were like, okay, it's 4 o'clock in the morning. We're going on the air in an hour. We need an ambassador to talk about this issue. And I'm like, okay. And you just get on, start calling people and digging through the internet, trying to find literally any ambassador who can talk about something at 5 o'clock in the morning. And, found one, and then you just move on. But so that was sort of my trial by fire of learning radio. And once you are in the audio world, eventually you turn to podcasting.
Sure.
So yeah, started a little podcast company and just wanted to tell music stories. And one of those was in the country music space
Before it got stolen. Friggin'
before
Amazon.
it got stolen by Amazon.
All right, what about a song that makes you emotional?
It's funny that you think I have feelings, but
I
um,
mean, I guess it could be any emotion. You can pick the emotion.
oh,
Doesn't have
that's
to
true.
necessarily be a song that makes me cry.
Yeah. So one of my, I think, go-to songs always is going to be Robin, Dancing on My Own. Um, and it's just I saw her play at Madison Square Garden, and I was one of those people who like walked to the train station afterwards. And there's been a viral video that was around forever about a bunch of people on the platform after the concert just singing Robin, and it was just this perfect like New York City experience of everyone just like so happy and cheering and just being themselves and just having a blast. And I think that song really cemented that song as perfect. And I don't know, it's a song you put on and you just can't help but dance along to.
I do love that song. That's one of my wife's favorite songs. And kind of early on in our relationship, she started listening to that song like a million times in a row. I think she like took a shower, listened to it in the shower, and then just kept it on repeat, and then went into the bedroom and closed the door and was listening to it. And it got to the point where I thought, like, is she mad at me? Did I do something wrong? Like, is she trying to tell me something? She's dancing on her own because I pissed her off or something. And then I asked her, she was like, no, I just love this song. I just felt like listening to it 10 times in a row. I was like, all right,
Yeah.
it is a
Oh,
great
I'm a
song.
firm 10 times in a row person. I think my Spotify algorithm just like hates me. But I've been obsessed with this Wolf Alice song called Don't Delete the Kisses. We'll listen to that like 15 times in a row. Don't care. Um, it's always funny at the end of the year when you get like your Spotify wrapped and you're like, oh, I remember that phase. Interesting. Like it's now my number one song.
I do think that they should do something with those Spotify Wraps and recognize, like, if this was one day where I was going through something, like, don't make this
Yeah.
my number one song. Like, make it its own category of, you were having
Yeah.
a
But
rough
I have
time.
to say, I believe I've been Bach's like the top 0.1% Bach fan for the last like 2 years running. So I
Oh,
feel no one's coming for my crown no one's getting between me and Bach anytime soon.
is that what you listen to when you write or something? Is there a reason or
It's like Sunday mornings, drinking coffee, reading a newspaper. I don't know. I actually don't know where Spotify is getting this information, but I'm not going to argue.
what is a song that reminds you of a milestone in your life?
I mean, currently, right now, I mean, honestly, I'm gonna have to go with an Oasis song because
Makes
it's
sense.
just, I am because I had to write this. This is gonna sound very glamorous, and I assure you, it really was not. But I I had to write this book so quickly, and I basically had like a month to turn out an entire first draft. And so a friend of mine has a tiny little apartment in Paris that she doesn't use very often. So I went to her apartment, which is why it sounds so glamorous. Um, but I would just sit and write all day. And then I would get up and like go walk around for an hour. And a lot of times I'd either listen to Oasis or I'd listen to like a B-side or listen to like some interview audio. And so those Oasis songs are so embedded in my brain right now that I don't know if like every time I hear them now, it just takes me right back to being vaguely miserable in Paris, writing like I was writing like 15 hours a day. Like I was not in a good headspace.
Right, what a shame you get to be in Paris and then have to
I know
spend
everyone's like, "Oh my
that
God, you had
writing.
so much." Yeah, and everyone's like, "Oh my God, it must have been so glamorous. What'd you see?" I'm like, "Nothing. I saw the inside of an apartment. I saw my computer screen." Like I walked around for an hour and like because I just needed to not die. Like I
Yeah.
didn't go to any restaurants. I didn't like I ate no like croissant. I ate nothing.
You didn't write at a cafe or anything?
No, I literally just like occasionally I'd go to a cafe, but there also Parisian cafe culture isn't necessarily the most like laptop friendly.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, no, I'd mostly just sit in this little apartment and just type. I'd wake up, like 8 in the morning, make some Nespresso, and sit and just type for until like 1 p.m. And then I'd walk around for an hour, come back and just type for another like 8 hours. It was hell.
Yeah, that's so funny. This is
And
like,
it was hell soundtracked by Oasis.
yeah.
So interpret that however you want.
This is like a monkey paw of my fantasy. Like I dream all the time, like, oh, somebody pays me to write and I go write it in Paris because you can write from anywhere. But then yeah, if you're stuck inside all day, it's not quite the dream.
Yeah. It but by the time I finally hit send on the draft, luckily a friend of mine who lives in Paris had come back. And so like I hit send on my first draft. I went out to meet her and we got just like completely drunk at like some very glamorous bars because she's bartender.
Yeah.
And it was a perfect sort of like way to kind of calm down a little bit. But yeah, I cannot hear like Supersonic or Wonderwall or Champagne Supernova without just, or actually even like some of like the deeper, like more obscure B-sides, which are the ones I was focusing on because I didn't know
Yeah.
them that well. Like, I don't know, deep cuts off of Standing on the Shoulder of Giants. Like,
No, I don't
I
either.
don't. Yeah, it's like sometimes fans would mention these like songs or these tracks that were like B-sides that came out once and on some album that and you're like, I have no idea what that song is. And so you'd have to go listen to it.
Did you have one of those B-sides that you didn't know, maybe that you were like, oh, this is a great song?
Oh, I mean, honestly, there were so many. Like that band was so prolific. Like and especially honestly, I really did not know their later albums like
Hmm.
at all. And you start listening, and you're like, this isn't that bad. I think some of the later works were actually pretty underappreciated. And I think when you start out of the box with Definitely Maybe and What's the Story of Morning Glory, you're setting the bar so, so high.
Right.
And I think their later albums just unfortunately sort of fell into the shadows of those two because those are two kind of like the greatest albums of the 20th century. And then you come out with Standing on the Shoulder of Giant and you're like, oh, okay. Like but it's a really good album. It's just not Definitely Maybe.
I was like the Master Plan. That was one I always thought was
Hmm.
a B-side, and I think
Yeah.
remember when they had to do the Unplugged and Noel had to fill in for Liam. He did like some of the B-sides, and those were the first times I heard like that one and like Acquiesce, and I was like, oh, they got a lot of great songs I didn't know.
Yeah. So there's been this kind of ongoing rumblings about what song Oasis is going to open with at their, reunion shows, which are happening very, very soon. And a lot of people think it could be Acquiesce,
Oh, weird. Why?
which I don't know. I think it's just like it's for the fans.
Hmm.
I think it's going to be Rock and Roll Star, but they also, famously started all a bunch of their sets with like, what is it, fucking in the bushes. So maybe it'll be that. Who knows?
Who knows what time? Are you going to the reunion shows?
So this has been like an ongoing. I did not get tickets. I didn't get tickets, and then but they're also not really giving away press tickets, and then
Hmm.
I'm not a VIP in the Oasis world, but so I did not have one, and I wasn't planning on going. But then a friend of mine just got told me that he actually had some from Mexico City, and he has an extra. So I'm going to go to Mexico City and see them in September, which I'm
Oh,
excited about.
cool. Oh,
Although the
that'll
one
be
I
fun.
really, really want to go to, and I'm still hoping I can get tickets to, is I want to go see them play at River Plate in Buenos Aires
Oh my God, that would
because
be
that is,
insane.
yeah, and it's like it's also one of their most like iconic shows ever.
Hmm.
And like if you watch the videos of those shows, it's like it gives you chills. You get little goosebumps, like the hairs on your arms stand up. It is phenomenal watching them play there, and I would love to just kind of go back and see them do that.
That would be really cool. All right, what is a song with some of your favorite lyrics?
Oh man. I mean, how can you argue with like Leonard Cohen or like, I don't know, like Silver Jews or Magnetic Fields even. I just saw at the Magnetic Fields do all 69 love songs in Los Angeles and it was such a reminder of like what an incredibly talented songwriter he is. But then comparing him to like Leonard Cohen, who's, like also a world famous poet, it's hard. But I think, yeah, it's hard to choose because there's some songs that just kill you with those one little lines.
What is a song you think people might be surprised to find out that you like?
Hopefully nothing. Because I don't know, I really like to be open-minded about music. I feel like I did spend a lot of time as a younger person being really judgmental about like country, like the country or like jazz or like,
Yeah.
I don't know, emo or mainstream stuff. But these days I really try and like, I don't know, I like everything. Like you see, Robert Smith on stage with Olivia Rodrigo, and I'm super excited for both of them. Yeah, I mean, why not be a Swiftie? Like she makes some incredible songs, and she gets the guys from the National to play with her. That's awesome. Or you see, I don't know, I feel like almost there's something good about almost every type of music. And I don't know. I feel like I hate being judgmental these days. Like I just want to be open-minded and listen to everything. So if people are surprised that I'm, a Sum 41 fan, cool. Do
I
I have
think
tickets to Lincoln Park? Absolutely. Do I, like I'm gonna go see it all.
I like that answer that I hopefully nobody would be surprised by anything. That is the right answer, I think.
Yeah, I think it's I feel like I missed out on a lot of really incredible music because I was being too much of a snob about it. And then also, sneak peek, I don't know. I'm working on a new project about the year 2004 in indie rock.
Oh,
It's going to
nice.
be it's a podcast. I've been collecting the interviews, but I was really talking to all these bands like Death Cab for Cutie and Postal Service and the Shins and Iron Hawaiian and Modest Mouse and Arcade Fire and Jenny Lewis and Tegan and Sara. But you're talking to all these bands, and everyone had this incredible fear of like selling out or like
Yeah.
appearing that they'd sold out, and like that is such bullshit because I'm sorry, you're making music as for a living. Like you're actually making money doing what you love. Like you don't have to go get a day job. Like you don't have to work as a temp in an office and can just actually get paid to make music. Like that's incredible. You should be, proud of that, not like being like, "Oh, I could never sell out. My fans would be so disappointed in me." And I feel like there was this like, idea that selling out was bad. And I mean, there was definitely that idea that selling out was bad, and people got a lot of shit for it. And it's it's ridiculous. And I feel like as a younger person, was probably part of that. And older, thinking about it, you're like, no, that's actually incredible. Like to support yourself with your art, do it.
I mean, that's a concept I don't think exists anymore as like selling out. Now it's like
Yeah,
get the bag, do whatever you have to do to make a living. But I
yeah.
remember like probably around that time, like 2003, 2004, Arcade Fire like said no to having one of their songs in the OC, and like every indie band was getting on the OC soundtrack, and I was like, Arcade Fire, a lot of integrity. I love that. And now I'm sure if they knew like how dire like the music business was going to get, they'd probably be like, can we go back and get our song on the OC? Probably use that money
Yeah.
now.
Yeah. I mean, Arcade Fire was pretty famous for just like not showing up to things, like not like we don't want to do press, we don't want to do this, we don't want to do that. And, it took them a lot to like not sell out. But then, I have a great interview with the folks from Superchunk who were, kind of earlier than 2004, but someone at an ad agency was like, "Hey, like some massive car brand wants to use your song to in their ad," and they're like, "Oh no, no, we could never do that." And they're like, "Okay, so what's going to happen is we're going to hire a band that sounds just like you to make
Yeah.
songs that sound like you, and everyone's going to think it's your song, but they're going to get paid and you're not." And they're like, "That doesn't make any sense." And so I think they agreed to do it, but it was, yeah, this idea that you can possibly make money off your art.
Now that's what I hope for. Like every small band that I like, I'm like, God, could somebody just put them in a car commercial or something so that they can keep making music?
Yeah,
But
please, like, get a sync in the Bear, get a sync on Grey's Anatomy, like, get
yeah,
paid for your art. Like, that's incredible.
yeah. All right, moving on. What is a song that you love that somebody else introduced you to?
Oh, I know. So, I have this friend, Daniel Ralston, and he and I work together a lot. And he and I made a project. We made a podcast about the true story of the fake zombies, which is the fake, the real zombies, and then there was the fake zombies who toured the U.S. for years. And Daniel has incredible taste in music, and he sends me like just the coolest music all the time. But he's also found some incredible zombies tracks that I had never heard before, and I, love that era of music. And yeah, I mean, if you haven't dug into the zombies archives, you definitely should.
All right, what about the other side? What is a song that you love that you got to introduce somebody else to?
I cannot pronounce the name of the artist, but there's a song called Full Time Poppy, which is this is a stupid name, but it's funny. But I have sent that song to like literally everybody because there's something about it and the way it, like, talk about a song that makes me emotional. Like, I don't totally, like, my Spanish is not quite good enough to really understand what he's saying, but there's something about that song and about the way like you put it in your headphones and you just walk around listening to it, and it's just like beautiful and emotional. It's kind of like really illustrates like the power of music, and especially to like kind of transcend language and to transcend like genre really. And it's funny and it's emotional and it's beautiful, and I have sent it to literally everybody.
All right, last one. What is the most recent song that you've fallen in love with?
I think I already mentioned this, but I there's this Wolf Alice song called "Don't Delete the Kisses" that I just cannot stop listening to right now, and for absolutely no reason. I've listened to it like nonstop for like 5 days. My brother claims I have undiagnosed ADHD. He may be correct. Just to go back to one thing about music discovery,
Yeah.
years ago I interviewed Brian Eno, and he told me that the way he discovered new music was that he would have people he trusted make him mix CDs, and they would have no information about any of the artists or any, like, no titles, nothing. And he would just
Oh, that's
listen to the
interesting.
music completely unencumbered by any like preconceived notion about what the band was or who they were, or anything about it. And I love that idea so much, but it's like, it's so hard to find. Like when you're on Spotify, like I guess you could just not look. You could try and, but also the algorithm is just going to serve you the same songs that you've blocked like 12 times, or a song that you listened to once 14 years ago, and they're like, you love this song, listen to it forever. But I do think like having the ability to have music discovery in that Brian Eno way is incredible. Like that's the dream.
Yeah, that is really great. I think maybe the only thing I could think of where I've had that is sometimes I pop into people's TikTok lives and they'll be playing music and I don't know
Oh,
what they're
cool.
playing. And I'll be like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
this is good. And then sometimes I find out it's like somebody I really should have known. I'm like,
Yeah.
that was, the Smile. And I was like, oh, damn it. I should have known that. But uh, that's kind of like the only thing I could think of. But usually it's given away. It'd be really cool if somebody just did like a whole mixtape, like 12 songs, and I'm not going to tell you who it is.
Yeah, no, I think it's a really fun way because you just get to experience the music with absolutely no idea. I mean, I guess you go to music festivals and just wander from stage to stage and have no idea who's playing. Um, or something.
That's
You
true.
could try it
Yeah.
at like you could try it at like Glastonbury or Oya Fest or something.
Yeah. But then at least you see the band and then you kind of have the preconceived notion of
Yeah.
what they look like. It would be cool to do
Like,
it
oh,
totally
that's a white boy with dreadlocks. I am probably not gonna like this. Yeah.
different. Yeah, that's really a good red flag to avoid.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, Melissa, thank you so much. What do you have to promote right now? Obviously the book. Anything else?
Yeah. No, let's just keep talking about the book. And after all, a fan history of Oasis in stores now.
That's
Oh,
great.
I guess one thing I could also promote, not if you don't mind me promoting a different
Of
podcast
course.
on a podcast, is
Sure.
I got to, it reminded me of one of my favorite stories from the book is this fan community that popped out of UC Irvine in
Hmm.
the early 90s through a mailing list, like back in the early days of the internet when it wasn't even bulletin boards. It was like you sent an email, you got an email back.
Oh
Everyone on
yeah,
the
I
list
remember
got the
those.
email.
Yeah.
So it'd be like thousands of people getting, and it was all about this Oasis mailing list. And so I did obviously there's a bunch about it in the book, but I also I produced a podcast episode for the Never Post podcast. There's a little segment
Cool.
on it about the whatever mailing list, and it has some of the voices from the people who, basically were making this crazy Oasis mailing list in the early 90s.
Yeah. Oh, cool. I gotta check that out. All right, Melissa, well, thank you so much.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for having me.
You've heard the stories, now hear the songs. Go to wherever you listen to music, Spotify, Apple Music, Tidal, and you can listen to today's guest's personalized playlist if you search for The Guest List with Patrick Hicks.